So we were able to take a lot of the critique we had done to build the program. There were some guiding principles that we used in designing the new program, and one of those is physics first. And like so many well-intended initiatives nationally on the educational scene, it's not coherently connected to a bigger program. Sure, Leon Lederman and the Nobel laureates in support of putting physics first in 9th grade have a great intellectual and epistemological rationale for putting physics first. It really is the most fundamental of all the sciences. However, it's not part of any larger coherent vision about how science would come to fruition. So obviously then one of our goals was to make sure it was part of a larger, greater curriculum vision of what the program could be. Putting this in an international light, doing physics and chemistry first seems rather strange, and I need to spend some time talking about that. Multiple studies have been done in the last 20 years that do an analysis of American public education in international context. And they all point and identify something in a very clear way, that in public schools, American students in math and science are among the very worst in the world. And even if you look at the top performing students, even the top performing students are at best at the 80th percentile. Our students, even the best students, I would hope to consider our students being at the very top. When they come out, when they attend colleges, they're taking classes internationally with students who are 1 to 2 years ahead in terms of their science performance. So that being said, in designing the program, we felt it wasn't necessarily essential that we would look at American programs as our models. Why would we model our programs after the best of the worst? But rather to model our programs after the best that we know of internationally. There are three perspectives that allow the top programs like Hong Kong, Singapore, and Taiwan to be as fabulous as they are. They have an intensely managed vertical alignment of their curriculum, one of our criteria in designing the program. High level of accountability for teachers and students in terms of delivering that curriculum, a second criterion for us. And the third one is highly qualified teachers teaching the subject matter. I don't want to go into the detail of that too much, lest we go to an hour on this presentation, but I'd be happy to answer questions on it. So clearly what we're seeing is chemistry and biology and earth science and physics fundamental early on. And of course, we wanted to make sure that we created flexibility so students who wanted to come on strong later, whether it's cognitive development or motivation or whatever it might be, they could get themselves from any place they want in the curriculum to any other place in the curriculum. There's some misconceptions, I've identified some of them, that the end of the practice is getting students to AP is somehow tied to the core problem, or the core program. Causality seems to be reversed in people's minds. The core program is the solution to the ending of these programs rather than the cause of the end of these programs. Obviously, one of the illusions is also one of the misconceptions that physics and chemistry are advanced courses. That's not at all the case internationally. It's done in the best schools, the best private schools, whether it's Deerfield or Spencer. These schools have been teaching physics early on forever. So it's clearly not. Even in our own program, we teach physics and chemistry in the elementary school and in the middle school. We just don't have courses of that title. That's what's unique. We tried to design the program around doing unifying themes and practices to bring the department together in terms of coherent practice. I'll skip over that. In short, the core program in the 9th and 10th grade was chemistry and physics, separate courses, separate teachers, switching mid-year. 10th grade, earth science semester, biology semester, switching mid-year, different teachers, qualified experts teaching the courses. After the 9th and 10th grade, we entered the elective program. In the 11th grade, whatever course the students take, at the end of that year, they would take the Regents exam. And we have several different pathways that students could take. They can take a year-long course in any one of the 4 core subjects, or science, chemistry, biology, physics. Those courses would be comparable to the previous honors level courses, but taught at a slower pace and in greater depth, so that the students could end up performing very well on the SAT-2 exam, which would be the cultivating standard. Students who would take that would be students who wouldn't be going directly into AP for various reasons, whether they were qualified or whether they just didn't want to take an AP course. Then, of course, we would have the AP courses, biology, chemistry, and physics, and hopefully, as Dr. Mizrandino mentioned, environmental science in the future. And what's interesting in the program, and I didn't diagram this out for you, is that students who might not have qualified for AP in the 9th and 10th grade can take a year-long course in any of the subjects and then end up in their senior year taking an AP course. And that's the sort of student we talked about being a late bloomer. If they come on late, there's a possibility for every student to get to AP courses if they want to. Not in spite of the program, but because of the way it's designed. We also would continue to offer ecology and science research, which have been backbone courses in the program. So students entering 11th to 12th grade have 10 choices of electives to take. I need to talk a little bit about AP Science courses because there's been some anxiety, particularly lately, when students sign up for them. What I've listed here is the 7 AP Science courses the College Board offers. I have listed them from the highest level of difficulty, least accessibility at the top, to the most accessible, easiest courses at the bottom. I put question marks after psychology because we're not interested in offering that anytime soon, and there are a whole bunch of issues surrounding that. But environmental sciences is by far the most accessible to the widest range of students. Students just need a background in basic biology, chemistry, physics, and earth science. And it's interesting, this year in anticipation, which is characteristic of the way we did everything with the Corps, we researched every detail of the program before we implemented it. So before we were going to implement environmental science, we surveyed the students. And more than 60% of the students expressed interest or wanted to sign up for this course. In fact, some students this year were angry that we weren't offering it next year, hoping to offer it in the future. But we feel that as much as 60% of the student body could have access to this course if they elected to. AP Biology, we've offered for a long time. I don't know that we've ever exceeded 30% of the student body who've ever taken AP Biology, but we think that that number could rise up to as much as 50%. AP Physics B, a lot of questions being asked about that. AP Physics B, as it's taught in most schools we wouldn't even compare ourselves to, public schools, as many as 25 to 30% of the students graduate having taken that course. 25 to 30%. Who are those students? Those students are juniors in their junior year, enrolled in Math 3. What I also need to tell you is that many of those students, and this is one of the few courses where students are allowed to take this course as a first course in the subject. In that school that I was referring to, in those schools that are doing this, the students take this course without ever having taken any physics. So it would stand to reason that our students who are juniors, also in Math 3, and also who have had a full semester of physics, certainly would do at least as well, or I might argue better, than the students they would be competing against in terms of those scores. And fortunately for us, we have Mr. Dennis Shea, who is an experienced teacher teaching that course for many years to students of that profile who've never had the course before. So we're very fortunate and we were able to hire him to do that. And we're all in agreement that AP Chemistry is the least accessible of all the courses. We've never had more than 20% of students take chemistry, and I believe that through my bias here, Mr. Ryan's brilliance, he could certainly get that number up to 30, teaching the core program and students following up in the chemistry. The other 2 physics courses are rarely offered in high school. Only very large schools are able to sustain this, and it's not very widely offered, and I don't think it's appropriate for our school. Certainly not now with the way things are.